Welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the live cast. If you're listening to this later or watching it later, then for you, I guess it's a podcast. We're a bunch of people already joining us here. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. And also don't forget to give a thumbs up if you are on YouTube to the podcast. Appreciate it. Any comments, you leave questions. I do select. I can't get to all of them, and some of them, yeah, I'll block you. But we will interact with you during this as much as we can because we have so much to talk about. And if you are on Getter, if you want to leave comments or questions, you can do that as well. I just have to read them because they do not transfer over automatically. Big thank you to Zach, our #1 fan, and to his dad, Evie, who does all of my graphics for me. So thank you very much. And yes, it is May, and I'm wearing a turtleneck because it has been cold and rainy and damp and disgusting here in the People's Socialist Republic of New Jersey since Friday. And I actually ran out of wood to make a fire today because I've been making fires all weekend because I'm so cold, but I ran out of wood. So since we are on a time crunch and there's so much to talk about, let's bring this guy in. He has not been with us for a while. Hello, this is
Lieutenant Mary.
Colonel Tony Shaffer. And how are you?
I'm well, busy, but thank you for having me. Always great to join you.
Oh no, I'm so glad you're here. I'm just gonna make you a little bit louder. Let's see. Okay, there you go. Make you a little bit louder. See if that helps. Tony is the president of Project Sentinel, and he is also with the London Center for Policy Research. You can find him on X at tspooky, but put an underscore between each letter, and that's how you will find him on X. There's an underscore under each letter. So Tony, the entire world is like blowing up, and how crazy is it that I booked you for tonight? And so I don't know if it was fortuitous or have some kind of foresight, or you being on caused the world to blow up. So it would give us something to talk about. I'm not quite sure which came first. So it's all right. So I just want to do these in the order in which they came out today.
Sure.
So first, President Trump announced that the U.S. will stop bombing the Houthis. They are not happy with us, and they're in Yemen, and Trump went after them because they were coming after our ships, etc. And Biden didn't do anything to stop them from doing that. So Trump said, okay, you bomb us, we're going to bomb you. Right. But he has now said that the strikes against the Houthis will stop. We've been bombing them for about 2 months. Why do you think we're stopping?
Well, I think if it's correct, they're going to back off and stop doing the things which they've been doing, which is bombing us, threatening shipping. So I think that's what the deal is. And President Trump has said a number of times that he has no interest in going beyond that which is necessary to achieve specific military objectives. So if they stop, we'll stop. And I think that's the deal. The Israelis also, within the last 24 hours, struck the Sana'a airport, as I believe, the capital, and so the Israelis retaliated because of the near miss of their airport in Tel Aviv. So de-escalation is what President Trump is seeking. Now, the reason this all started, believe it or not, is because of the Egyptians. People don't talk about this, but by the Houthi threatening all the traffic, about between 15 and 20%, nobody can be exact, but 15-20% of the global shipping goes through the Suez Canal, Egypt, and two things were happening. First off, people were having to ship things way around Africa, southern Africa, adding to expense, and also depriving the Egyptians, our ally, of millions of dollars in fees. So this was not hurting the Israelis so much as it was hurting the Egyptians. So that's one of the reasons we stepped in and took a much harder stance than Biden did. And to be fully clear on this, Biden didn't hit anything. They kept doing these strikes against targets which were evacuated, abandoned, or otherwise old. So every time they said, "Oh, we're doing something," they weren't. But President Trump did. Pete Hegseth did. So that's why, if things can be resumed, that is to say that the normal shipping through. And by the way, Sal Mercogliano does What's Up in Shipping, a great blog, and he talks about all the different issues we're talking about right now in way better and more intelligent detail because he's a Navy guy, so he understands the shipping issues. But this has been something that has been a real problem for folks for a long time, and I'm glad finally it looks like it may be resolved. Maybe. We'll see.
So may I just say that reading a blog called What's Up in Shipping sounds like one of the nerdiest things someone could say. It's just like, who reads What's Up in Shipping?
He's a good guy. Sal's a good guy. I've had him on my show. He's a good guy. I like him.
I didn't say it wasn't a good guy. I'm just saying it just sounds kind of nerdy. That's all. By the way, you can catch Project Sentinel is on YouTube, right? You've got your videos on here, right?
Well, yeah, there's videos there, but right now I'm I'm guest hosting for Ed Henry on his Wake Up Patriots 3 days a week. I'm doing Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on Rumble, Wake Up Patriots. It's a very lively, topical show. We go through a lot. We cover a lot of things, and people can chat. We actually have live chats so people can chat with us as we're doing our show. It's 9 to 10 every day for Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So.
All right. Let me ask you a question. You mentioned Pete Hegseth. Why does the left hate Pete Hegseth so much?
Well, two reasons. First, he's going to do what President Trump wants, which is always a black mark against anybody who actually follows what President Trump does, because President Trump has done something that other people haven't. He actually follows through with his promises. So that's the first thing. Secondly, he's an outsider. Both the neocons, Republicans, as well as the globalists, the Hillary Clintons and the Barack Obamas of the world hate him because he's not going to actually do the things that they want, such as focusing the Pentagon on green energy, focusing on how to buy battery-powered tanks, all those stupid things. And he's going to restore a warrior ethos. And just today, as we're speaking, the Supreme Court ruled that Pete can kick out transgender individuals from the military. Yeah. So, and I agree with that decision. It's something that I've actually been asked to go do some other media. I'm thinking about on a major show. It's like, I'll think about it. I don't know. Nothing good comes out of those national shows. And I'll tell you off air who it was if you want. But it's like, yeah, I'll think about it.
Oh, good. I want to know. Well, I want to get there, but I just want to stick let's as these stories came out today, because we've kind of talked about a lot of different things. Gregory says, I think that Israel will pick up the slack regarding the Houthis. What do you think?
Well, they kind of already are. If the Houthis continue to shoot at the Israelis, and I think that's the issue right now. Will they continue? Part of what has to be done, Mary, is they have to break the supply chain. And these guys, 5 years ago, these guys are running around in the back of Toyota 4x4s with AK-47s. And all of a sudden, they've got missiles and high tech. And that didn't just kind of come out of the desert on a camel. That came from Iran. And not only did they get the technology from Iran, they got targeting information. There's been Iranian ships off the coast of Yemen helping do targeting. So we have been self-restrained on not hitting the Iranian targets as much as I think we should have once we figured out that they were helping them. The Iranians were helping the Houthi. So it really does come down to, do the Iranians want to see this escalated or not? And so the Israelis, I think, are going to go and continue to do hits on them, and that sort of thing. So that's what's going on there.
So those armaments that they have now, how much of that came from Afghanistan that we left behind?
Nothing that I've seen, but it went to other places. The high tech stuff went to China and Pakistan and China for exploitation. And much of the other stuff's been sold off to drug cartels. Much of what we left there was small arms and vehicles. So the Yemenis, the Houthi, again, they're using missiles. So we didn't leave a lot of missiles behind, fortunately. But the other stuff was sold off to other parts of the world, and it's being used by a lot of the drug cartels, drug mafias right now. And I think we're going to come to find a lot of that stuff ended up in Mexico.
Interesting. Okay, so now let's go back to, so Trump says we're not going to hit the Houthis anymore, but as you said, Israel today launched airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. To go with what Greg said, I think that Israel's going to pick up, and they have disabled their airport in where is that? They disabled their air. Yeah, I'll find it. But anyway, so they disabled this airport. It was Houthi controlled. And why would, yeah, it was Sana, you're right. Why would Israel then jump in if Trump says we're not going to hit them anymore?
Because they were retaliating directly for that shot that nearly hit their airport in Tel Aviv. I think it was almost a 1-for-1 hit.
Okay.
The Tel Aviv strike was very close. I don't know if we've gotten the full story on if anybody was injured or killed, but
Okay.
that's why they went directly back at the airport.
Because they hit Ben Gurion Airport.
Yes.
50 munitions. The IDF dropped 50 munitions on Hodaya Port, a nearby concrete factory, and the airport. So Israel's like me. Like, I won't launch the first rocket. Like, I never launch the first attack. But if you do, I am going to destroy you. I'm all about an arm for a finger retribution. You're right. Like, it cut off my finger, I'm taking your arm. Like but I never launched the first strike. Like, I try to just hold my fire. If you want to come after me, that's fine. But just realize that I'm not going to be fair in my retaliation whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, and I think more is coming from the Israelis if the Houthi don't stand down. And I think that's been the thing. And again, Mary, to reiterate, the Iranians have been behind supplying all of these weapons, these missiles especially, that the Houthi are using. So this is another reason I think we have to start examining options against the Iranians at some point, which President Trump has done. We've done a show of force. We have B-2 bombers and Diego Garcia in the I think it's the Gulf of India. I think it's down by Africa, and they're actually prepared to do strikes into Iran if Iran continues to do things to strike the region through their proxies.
Now, we've got a lot of comments and questions. And Porch View Farm says, why did we do nothing about the USS Cole?
All right, that goes into
It goes way back.
A lot of issues. Well, there's a lot of issues that go back to that. During that time, United States was recognizing that Al Qaeda was a growing threat, and they'd already hit the embassies in Africa and Kenya, and I think Tanzania. My team was supporting something called Able Danger, which you're going to hear a lot more about this. Matter of fact, I'm texting with someone on a major podcast. I have to fly down to Florida this Friday to do that. And the Cole was something that I don't know if we fully understood where to hit at that point in time, because we were still trying to map Al Qaeda globally and try to figure out where it was all at. And this was, I think it was 99 when the Cole was hit. And it was one of those things where we were trying to figure out the different places they were at and how to go about not striking just a single location, but the entire infrastructure. Able Danger, for those who don't remember, you could Google it. Don't look at Wikipedia because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But look at some of the other sources, the 9/11 sources. Able Danger was an offensive campaign designed by General Hugh Shelton, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, for Pete Schoonmaker, the commander of Special Operations Command, to be prepared to execute, to go after the entire infrastructure at once. And so that we were looking at options to go back at Al Qaeda. Those options were prepared and briefed to Hugh Shelton in January of 2001. And that's part of the mystery. Nobody knows why we didn't strike Al Qaeda offensively when we had the chance before they did the 9/11 attack. So that's one of the mysteries we'll be examining. I was just talking to Kurt Weldon, Congressman Weldon, about 20 minutes ago about this. So more to come on all of this. But the simple answer is we were looking at options to go after Al Qaeda after the Cole.
Well, keep us informed. And I know we're rushing through this because Tony has time constraints. So I just want to kind of get to everything with him. The Wall Street Journal has a piece that says Israel's heading for a full occupation of Gaza. And then they have all the risks it entails. And they say after 18 months of saying they would not occupy Gaza, Israel now believes that it cannot get Hamas out without holding the territory. Do you agree with that? That they just got to take Gaza. They got to take the whole thing. And how does that play on the world stage? I can't even imagine how that plays on the world stage.
So I think it plays like it should. We should never have allowed a terrorist organization to metastasize in an area where we knew that all the resources that were going in there, all the UN resources, UNRWA and all those other guys were essentially extensions of Hamas. So, and I think the rockets being fired at Israel should have been a clue. It's like, hey, these guys They're shooting at our ally. So I think the only way you're going to do this is cut the cancer completely out and start from the beginning. And I know that a lot of people, I have friends, younger, way younger friends who feel that, oh, the Palestinians are being essentially put upon by the Israelis. Well, they kind of are. I'm not denying that, but the 7 October attack on the Israelis a couple years ago really did change the perspective on how to do that. So I think you have to go in and remove them all and start from the beginning. Remember, President Trump had proposed this as well. It's about, hey, let's move them all out, let's build the place up, and do something. But I just don't think a two-state solution is ever going to work if one of the two states is primarily focused on destroying the other state. Just saying. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. Gregory has a different question. He wants to know if the contents of your book, Operation Dark Heart, great book, hasn't been released in any other form.
Well, it's been released in a number of forms. I mean, I've got the British versions up there on the shelf somewhere.
No. I think he means other than a book. Like, has there been a movie? Has there been? Is it? I think that's what he's looking for. I think that's
no
what
movie.
He's asking there.
No movie. No.
Be a good movie.
The Brad Pitt's company looked at it back when it first came out. But
he could have played you. You could have had Brad Pitt play you. How cool would that have been?
I don't know. I'm okay with Brad Pitt not playing me, but the redactions became an issue, and we plan on eventually, because we won our First Amendment lawsuit, republishing the book kind of unredacted at some point. It's not at the top of the list because the book continues to sell pretty well. I still get royalty checks every quarter, so
that's great.
The book's been out over 10 years. So, but we do. I mean, yeah, given the opportunity. Oh, there's another thing. If someone's curious, there's an article, you can Google it. It's called "The Private War of Anthony Shaffer" by investigative reporter Peter Lance. And just Google it, Peter Lance, and it comes right up. And it's the story behind why they came after the book, and it has to do with Able Danger and 9/11. So Peter does a great job of going through and outlining why exactly this is to this day an issue.
Interesting. All right. Watching Your Back is here, says, any update on The Last Line? And we can see the cover over your shoulder there.
Yeah, over my shoulder. So we've done some work. My friend, former director of CIA, Jim Woolsey, and I actually talked about collaborating because he wants to be a character in the next one. So it's like, okay, Jim, yeah, sure. So we've talked about it. We've done some work back and forth. But again, it's one of those things that everybody's busy doing real stuff. It's hard to cut it, And by the way, I don't know. Writing a book, and I've got Jack Carr's. Jack Carr and I are friends. Jack is masterful, and he loves writing. I'm not that masterful, and his books are being turned into movies, and he's off doing stuff right now. He always gets a cameo in his own project. So. The answer is it's just not. It's not at the top of the list because we're actually doing, And I just got elected. I mentioned this to you earlier. I'm a county commissioner here in Chowan County, North Carolina. That takes a lot of time. Which I'm on like 4 different medical committees. I keep asking when they're going to send me to medical school so I can actually know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Why don't you have a doctor on the medical committee?
Well, I replaced Dr. Alex Keyes, who was a doctor. But and he's an anesthesiologist. Shout out to Alex. But I guess since I'm a spy, I guess they figure I can play a doctor. Just saying. So.
There you go. Quickly, so we can get to this. We have now India and Pakistan going after each other, which, as I was getting ready to come in here, breaking right now, India says it has now carried out military strikes against Pakistan.
Right.
So Brett Baer was saying that Pakistan has now said that they consider this an act of war. And I mean, they've been fighting, they've been battling for decades, right? Like, as long as we've been alive, they've been fighting. So I'm not quite sure what they expect to get done here. But these are 2 nuclear powers, right? They both have nukes.
Yeah.
So, and I listen, I can't imagine that they would go that far with any of it. But what's going on? Why were they feeling left out because everybody else in that area is fighting? So they were like, let's do what we do.
So this has happened since 1947, when the British Empire kind of gave both countries their independence. The Kashmir region's always been in dispute. India got their nukes kind of from us, kind of from us in '74, and the Pakistanis got their nukes from North Korea and China in 1998. So there's been kind of this balance of terror going back and forth. But since then, India kind of grew up. India has got 1.4 billion people. China has 1.4 billion people, and their big issue, that is India, is China. So my belief is China convinced this Pakistani group to act up, because remember, we're now kind of challenging China. So you have to look.
Right.
This is like chess. This isn't checkers. So when this happened, the usual suspect is not Pakistan. It's China. I think China prompted this to create the diversion we're now talking about. And yeah, the people who would benefit most from a conflict between India and China, I mean, India and Pakistan, would be China, because obviously India can't focus what it's trying to do with us, because India wants to become our primary trading partner. China is not happy about that. China can't live without our
Right.
money. Just saying.
Right.
So I think this is all about China. It's not about, it's all about Pakistan, India going back and forth. But I think the Chinese are behind the scenes pulling the Pakistani strings on this.
Yeah, because the Indian government released a statement saying a little while ago the Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Sindoor, hitting everything's got to have a name. The military loves their names
We do.
for their
We use names.
missions. Hitting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, from where the terrorist attacks against India have been planned and diverted. It sounds almost exactly like what we were just talking about with the Houthis and Yemen, right? Like they had their terrorist groups in Yemen, the Houthis, and they're hitting America and they're hitting Israel, they're hitting all these other places. And then those people, us and Israel, just said, okay, we're done, and then hit back. But now Pakistan says that this is an act of war. Now, Yemen never said it was an act of war. Yemen, I think, understands exactly what's happening. But
the Houthi aren't the official government. The Houthi aren't the official government of Yemen. But I understand your point. Yeah, in this case, I think the Pacs are going to be held responsible for the murder of those 20. I think it was 23 tourists who were murdered by some Pakistani group there in Kashmir. So I think, the Indians are going to take what they believe to be an adequate retribution. By the way, the bigger issue is the Hindus River. There's been a treaty that allows the water from the Hindus River to flow into Pakistan. India shut that down, and the Pakistanis were saying, "Oh, that's a violation." So that's another issue that been very little reporting on. But the Indians have said, "Yeah, we're going to shut your water off," and they did. And this has been another issue. So again, I don't see this resolving itself anytime soon.
Oh boy. All right. Gregory says, did you ever meet Lieutenant Colonel Alan West over in Afghanistan?
I don't know if Alan was ever in Afghanistan. I think
I don't know if he was either. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had him on. I was just texting with him. He just texted me out of the blue today.
Yeah, so. I don't think he was in Afghanistan. So, and then by the way, we would have probably not been together anyway. If you read Darkheart, what I was doing I did like an air assault with the Rangers and stuff like that, but it was an exception. We were doing more things, you just read the book, you'll figure it out. So.
It's a good book. It's a good book.
Thank you.
So, and and that's kind of like not my jam necessarily, but it was a good book. And maybe because I know you, I've worked with you, Tony and he used to co-host, you fill in for Vince with me on WMAL in the morning.
In the good
old days.
Back when Vince had two names. They took his name, they took his last name, and
I know. Well, because you can't pronounce it. Nobody can pronounce it. That's why.
I know. I was talking to Chris Plant about it the other day when I was up doing the Right Squad. It's like, hey, what happened to Vince? He said, oh yeah, they dropped his name. It was too hard to pronounce and nobody knew how to say it. So
yeah, nobody can do it. Oh, you did the Right Squad. I did that once when I was in DC. It's very fun to do. But I can't stand the desk. The desk is like, it's like sitting at the kids' table.
It is.
It's way up high, and I'm like sitting there like, what's with this desk? What is happening here? Okay. You also mentioned, I promised I would get you out of here in half an hour. So I've got 5 minutes with you. The Supreme Court, as you mentioned today, cleared the way for the Trump administration to enforce a DOD policy. And this is Pete Hegseth, and this is probably one of the reasons why they hate him, prohibiting transgender people from serving in the military. Right. Now, this isn't because nobody likes, Klinger, and Klinger was a joke on MASH and everything else. But this goes, this targets individuals with gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
So it's not just someone who likes to dress, cross dress or anything, or does
No.
drag on the weekends, but this is for the medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria. They
Yeah.
said that the medical, surgical, and mental health constraints on individuals who have a current diagnosis or history of or exhibit symptoms with gender dysphoria are incompatible with the high mental and physical standards necessary for military service. Do you obviously agree with that?
I do, for three reasons. First, and before I go into the reasons, I just want to state for the record, I don't care. Most people don't care who you sleep with. I have a lot of gay and
Right.
lesbian friends. I'm close to a number of folks in Hollywood who are, kind of floaty. If anybody who follows my social media know who they are, and so nobody cares. And back before it became policy to be open, we all knew who gay and lesbians were. We didn't care. Just saying, we just did not care. This is different. So first off, if you come in with a mental condition known as dysphoria, you end up with people like Bradley Manning, or now Chelsea Manning. Bradley Manning came in with the dysphoria, and he, was acting out constantly. He was a discipline problem. So because of that, and because of the fact that people can't be fully relied upon because of mental issues, that is, to me, if you want to have public service, yeah, go work for NASA, go work for the civil service, and I don't know, the post somewhere. You can still do public service, just not in the military. Secondly, regarding the transgender issue, it's an issue. It's disruptive to the good order and discipline. This whole idea that you're on a cocktail of drugs, you're constantly
Right.
being medically treated, and because you're being medically treated, if you're in a combat situation where there's austere resources, that is to say, you don't have them, you will break down. You will not be able to function without drugs. So, in every situation, I know, if you're at sea, if you're on land and one of the military units, Army, Marine Corps, if you're in the Air Force, forward based, there could be a point where you can't function because you can't get drugs. And third, and most importantly, in many ways, once you're cut up, and by the way, under the Biden administration, it was a recruiting incentive. They promised you
Mm-hmm.
surgery, bottom surgery for
Yep.
guys going to girls, and I don't know what they do for the other way. Just saying, not that I care. And I know for a
I
fact
can
the
explain it to you if you want.
well, not this minute, but no, the Navy, the Navy in particular was going nuts over this stuff. Just saying. And once you do that, obviously there's no going back. There's a lot of buyer's remorse in that community. Once you make that transition, a
Yeah.
lot of buyer's remorse. My good friend Cherie Curry is doing a movie called Leaving Amy, where this young person was kind of recruited into being transgender. He was a guy, became a girl, and he regrets it. So it's one of those things that, man, there's no going back once they butcher you. And oh, by the way, you become a ward of the state. You have to be treated by the military for the rest of your life once you do that. You basically have permanent medical treatment, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm a veteran. I've got permanent care, being retired and everything, but there's just too many things that get in the way of being practical
Right.
about it.
Well, what people have to realize, like you said, if you have to take a medication that you have to take, for instance, if
Every
you
day.
have thyroid problems and you have to take a pill every day, you can't be in the military because
correct.
you can't be deployed.
Diabetes.
Because
Diabetes. You
right,
can't be in
you
with
can't be
diabetes.
deployed. Right. So, and what they were doing, to you or your point, there's a scam being run that they would enlist. And they
Oh,
go,
yeah.
oh, I have gender dysphoria, and they get all the surgeries and everything else. And the American people would pay for it, and they couldn't be deployed because they were always going
correct.
into surgery, recovering from surgery, this, that, or the other thing. And so they would go in to get their free surgery, and we paid for it. And it was a big scam that was running. Quickly, Porsche View Farm has another question. Did China have something to do with Imran Khan being ousted? Would this situation be going on if Khan was not ousted? And thank you for answering the Cole question.
Yeah. Well, the Cole question is still not fully answered. I agree with, but the Imran Khan thing, Pakistani politics are nuts. So there's one organization. No, I'm just being blunt, but there's one organization that has the ultimate veto power over the government. You want to guess what that organization is?
In Pakistan? I have no idea.
The military. In the Constitution, the military has the right anytime to say, yeah, we don't want to play. We're done. And so the military holds great sway behind the scenes. So if you cross the military, they can literally do things to get you out that you don't fully understand. The Pakistani ISI is part of the military, and they've been very effective in maintaining essentially behind the scenes dominance. When I think most people know now, I was running a secret option to get Boberg Dahl back, and I was negotiating through this back channel with the Pakistani intelligence service through General. Oh my God, I was just thinking of his name. He passed. Anyway, we were
Need the
negotiating.
Prevagen.
Yeah. So anyway, Hamid Gul, General Gul, and so we knew that. And by the way, there's a huge divide between the military and the civilian leadership. They don't talk. So it's a very interesting system. It's much like, if you ever watch Star Trek, it's like the Klingons. So
Yeah, that's a really nerdy reference. One last question, and then we're going to let Tony
All right.
go.
Sure.
Do you know Tyler Gray from SEAL Team? That's Star Driver 1.
I have no idea who Tyler Gray is.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Well, I'll let you go because I know you got to do your commissioner thing, whatever it is you got going on there. So thank you so much for your time. I really
By the way,
appreciate.
we have. Thank you. Well, Mary, I'll try to let me know. I'll try to make time for this more often. I don't generally get pulled away on Tuesdays all the time. Some Tuesdays I do. Some I don't. So I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
But you know what? This worked out well because of the news that is going on. I mean, it's crazy what's been going on with today. Just happened to be one of those times where I was watching the news. I'm like, oh, it's a great thing I have Tony on tonight. What are we going to talk about? This is perfect. Mangelmush says, "Thank you, sir. Great interview." So and just shoot me your schedule, like when you're in Fred, shoot that to me, and then I'll put it on all the socials when I post. I'll put it up on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Spreaker and everything, so people can find you. All right. I'll let you go.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks so much. Bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Just very quickly, this is obviously going to be a short podcast. Scott here said, I would disagree with what Tony had to say about transgenders in the military, because he said, just because one person caused problems like Chelsea Manning, it needs more consideration. And I think that they have given it that consideration. As we said, there's a whole list of, when we talked about this last time, when we were going on, they were having the fight about whether to let them in, they can't serve. I looked at it and I'm like, well, I take a thyroid medicine every single day of my life. I have to take it every single day. I can miss a couple days, and then Mary becomes cranky and ornery, and weird things start to happen in my body, unpleasant things. And so I have to take that pill every single day. I can't be in the military because you may be in a situation where you can't get that medication every single day. And it's the same thing with people who are on the hormones for transgender. They can't be deployed. So why are you in the military if we can never deploy you except because you want the free surgery, right? All right. So just one fun thing I wanted to share with you. Next week, our guest is Cheryl Chumley from the Washington Times. I got to check. I get the Washington Times and the Washington Examiner confused. So I think she's Washington Times. Anyway, but she'll be joining us next Tuesday. So I'm excited. We haven't had her on before. She's a new guest. So everybody be nice. I know you will be. You're always nice. But so I saw this and I had to share it. So is anybody left-handed? Anybody watching left-handed? Raise your left hand. So my baby brother is left-handed. And so there's three of us. So the first and the middle are right-handed and the baby's left-handed. And my mother's mother, left-handed. And my mother's mother always used to tell us how the nuns used to make her do everything with her right hand. Porch View is left-handed. All right. So the nuns always used to make her do everything with the left hand. So she would do ironing and stuff with her right hand because the nuns would whack you on your hand if you used your left hand. She got the ruler. So she couldn't write right-handed, but she did a lot of other things right-handed because she was a lefty. So my baby brother was a lefty. So for years, we told my baby brother, and I hate this word, but back in the day when we were kids, we used to tell him he was retarded. Right. I don't like to call people that word. I will call things that word or situations that word, but not people. I don't like that. But anyway, but we were kids, and so we did. And so we everything he did, we're like, oh, that's because you're retarded. Because he had to use special scissors to cut. So we're like, you can't use the normal scissors because there's something wrong with it. We just tortured him for being left-handed. Ron is a lefty. I see that. Star driver's left-handed, but writing only. So we tortured my brother. So I just sent him this on the family chat. So a study was done, and it comes out of Germany. It was studied in Psychological Bulletin, and they revealed that left-handed people appear more significantly among those with certain mental and neurodevelopmental disorders. So my brother and I were right. Sue says my mom was, but made me be a righty. Rebecca, shame on you, Mary. Hey, she laughed after that. So yeah, so my brother and I were right about my baby brother. This is data that analyzed over 200,000 individuals. They analyzed this. They found that this could potentially offer a window into how our brains develop and organize themselves. So the study revealed that conditions like schizophrenia, autism, and intellectual disability show notably higher rates of left-handedness compared to the general population. About 10% of people worldwide are left-handed, but autism cases were 3.5 times more likely to exhibit left-handedness. Right? Gregory, that's truly savage. That was not savage. We were being kids. We also used to put in a big toy box. It was this big, huge wooden toy box. And we'd take all the toys out, we'd make him get in there, and he'd sit in there, and he never fought us. And we closed the lid and had a little cutout like for the handle. It was like a U almost for the handle. And we'd sit on it and watch TV, and he had to watch TV through the hole because he was the baby. Mangle says, we lefties are the people in their right mind. Not according to this. 3.5 times more likely to exhibit autism, dyslexia, and stuttering, significantly higher rates of left-handedness. Language, like handedness, has a very one-sided location in the brain. So it stands to reason that the development of both and their disorders could be linked. So the development of being left-handed and the mental disorders that they're finding, schizophrenia, autism, intellectual disability, dyslexia, stuttering, could be because of the way the brains form in left-handed people. I wonder because I think that people who are on the spectrum, like Elon Musk on the spectrum, but very high functioning, I think they are smarter in a different way. I think they actually have a gift. And I told this to someone because I thought she was autistic because she's super, super creative. And she got really mad at me. And I'm like, no. I'm saying this in a good way. Because I think that people like Elon Musk, the ADD people, they tend to, I think, function just on a different plane than everyone else and see things the way we don't see them. So I think it's kind of like one of those God giveth and God taketh away things. You know what I mean? Yes, I know what it means, Mangle. Mangle says it means we use the right hemisphere of our brain, Mary. It's a joke. I knew that. I didn't laugh at it though. So I understand why you took it the way you did. Researchers identify patterns across different diagnoses that had previously remained hidden when studying disorders in isolation. Now, mixed-handedness, we used to call that ambidextrous, where individuals use different hands for different tasks without a strong preference, showed even higher rates in clinical populations than left-handed in itself. So if you're ambidextrous, like my brother-in-law, oh, I can't wait to tell him. The left-handed is 1.6 times higher odds compared to 1.3 for left-handedness. So even more if you do both, if you're ambidextrous. That's crazy. When I was learning how to drive, before I learned how to drive a stick, I used to hit the gas with my left foot and the brake with my right. It drove everyone crazy when I drove, but it was perfectly fine for me. That's how I learned how to drive. That's how I drove. I drove that way for the longest time until I bought my first car on my own, and I got a real good deal because it was manual transmission. So that whole left foot braking thing actually worked out really well for me. It's just that I had to learn to just do the clutch and not hit the brake. So Mango says, I didn't get the joke. No, I got the joke, but I kind of glossed over it. I apologize. That was funny. I apologize, Mango. I owe you an apology. Okay. Not all psychiatric conditions show the connection being left-handed. Depression, math learning disability, that's me. And pedophilia, well, yay, show no meaningful difference in handedness compared to control groups. So yay, all you left-handed people. It's not everything. Sue says, my mother-in-law was ambidextrous. She could color with the kids at the same time. Did I miss the joke there? She could color with the kids at the same time. I got to think that one over. I don't want to miss another joke. Star says, am I ambidextrous or confused? I got it. So yeah, anyway, I thought that was super interesting. And I had so much fun sending it to my brother, who is left-handed. Now, they say many left-handed people may never develop mental health conditions. And many people who are right-handed have mental health conditions. So don't think it is, I guess it's not destiny. Let's put it that way. It's not destiny. Let me see. All right. Let's make sure there's nothing else going on. Oh, Weight Watchers has filed for bankruptcy. Huh. Why do you think that is? Is it because because I always thought they had the good thing with counting the points and everything. I kind of thought it was super simple. They announced today that they've entered Chapter 11. They have 1.5 billion in debt. A more convenient way. Oh, because everybody's doing the Ozempic and all that stuff, the injectables, which, by the way, super bad for you, really bad side effects, some permanent side effects you will live with for the rest of your life. Super bad, super bad. Don't do it. Yeah, people don't want to do anything hard. They just want to shot. Give me an injection. They'd rather just, inject it in. So Suze is laughing at me. She said she had a crayon in each hand so she could color with more than one kid at the same time. I got it. All right. I'm sorry for missing the joke. Gregory says, thank goodness we'll have fewer of these goofball studies now that the government won't be funding them. See, now I'm going to say something here. Well, this was done in Germany. That's the first thing. So we probably paid for it, though. But if we can find out the connection in your brain between like why some people have schizophrenia, like if we can find a cure for schizophrenia and find out why that is, what is the association? Now we know it's associated with left-handedness and they think it has something to do with the way your brain develops. That could be a huge breakthrough. And autism too. And I love that RFK Jr. wants to look at autism. Yay. We keep pretending and everybody wants their kid diagnosed with autism and ADHD and everything else. So I don't necessarily think that this is a waste of money. I actually kind of like this. Oh, everybody's telling jokes now. Star Driver, I heard the Biden Presidential Library is almost ready to open. They have a pad of paper and half a box of crayons. Is there only half a box because Joe ate the other half? All right, guys, we're out of here. So I won't be anywhere. I did a hit on Newsmax 2 today. Monday, I should be on Newsmax TV with Chris Salcedo sometime between 4 and 5, unless war breaks out somewhere, or they, breaking news, and then we get bumped. So that happens sometimes, but that's when I should be on. And, and I'm doing, what's next Friday? What's next Friday? Friday's the 16th, next Friday, the 16th. Yeah. So next Friday, I'm in for Rob Carson on Newsmax Radio, noon to 3 Eastern time. And you can look for WCBM. That's his home station. It's syndicated nationally, but the easiest way to find it is to look for WCBM, and you can listen to it online that way, or you can just go to WCBM's website and listen to it there. And then the following week, I got little dates here and there coming up, and then something will pop up right in the middle of it. So that's where I am. But you can follow me on X at Mary Walter Radio. There's no S in there. It's just Mary Walter Radio. I always post my schedule there. So Star Driver says, bingo, Your Majesty, because I said Joe ate the other half of the box of crayons. All right, we're out early. So have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I know everybody says that, but for me, it's pretty open. I kind of leave you a lot of options because there's a lot of things. No, I wouldn't do. So I don't leave you any options. Anyway, have a great week and God bless.